Well, hello everyone, and welcome to a happy Friday. This is the Southern California first-time buyer market update. My name is Stephen Meade, your host with Domicile Real Estate, where we are on a mission to help California's renters become homeowners. And if you've been watching us the last, year and a half, we really haven't. We've had a little bit of good news for first-time home buyers, but it's been rough out there, and I think a lot of times, just personally, one of the things that's the hardest thing to do is to look at, a potential home buyer who has a limited down payment and say, it's going to be very tough to get an offer accepted. It's possible, but it's probably going to take a while. It won't be your first, second, third, or even fourth choice house. It'll probably be the sixth or the seventh, or maybe even more offer that you write. And that's very tough to do. And I'm happy to see that finally we're returning to something that feels a little bit more like a normal market with normal inventory levels. And, I think especially for first-time home buyers, that's important. I think that, in the past, there might have been this temptation to buy something, anything, without any real regards to sort of long-term thinking on what owning that property is like, without thinking, how many bedrooms do I really need? Or is this just the one I can get my offer accepted on? And so I'm kind of excited that things have changed a little bit. And really, it's a lot of good news this week. So let's jump into it. Let's start off your weekend with something good. And here we go. So our first piece of good news here is pricing. Now, again, remember, this reflects where we were 4 to 6 weeks ago in the market. We do see a momentary bit of down. You'll notice there's quite a bit of this kind of puts us back to where we were maybe 4 weeks ago. But I think the overall trend here for our entry-level single-family homes is that it has leveled off, right? We don't see this upward curve like we saw. Same thing here with the condos, though there's still a little bit of forward momentum, which is interesting. This is really counterintuitive to every single other situation that we've been in with a changing market, which is that typically the condo market softens first and fastest, and that's not what's happening here. If we look through to our total monthly payment combined with some interest rates that have actually crested and declined a little bit, really look what that's done is that's kind of pushed us back to where we were at the beginning of April, right? So still not back to, February or March timeframe payments, but we're back to April. So if you feel like you missed your chance as a first-time home buyer, you have not. The world is actually a little bit better today than it was previously. And if you're in a condo market, again, we are pushed back to right around where we were at that middle of April mark. So really, this is good news. I think if you're out there and you've watched your affordability erode, it has actually improved a little bit with those lowering of interest rates. The other way that it's improved, and this is something that I've talked about a few times, is that we're not seeing a homogenous market. If you're the kind of buyer that's willing to take properties that do not look as attractive in terms of online appeal, these properties, there's a lot more softness in. We had a client where we ended up $150,000 or $125,000 below the property's original list price. That was, almost a 10% drop from the original list price of the property. So, there are deals out there to be had. There are properties where you're going to be able to have a little bit more market power maybe than you've ever had in the past, especially if you're a well-qualified buyer and you frankly write clean, good offers, which is something that we specialize in doing here. So, we're really seeing this market improve a bit for people. So if you're in that first-time buyer space and maybe you got frustrated and you took a little bit of a break, now really is that time you should think about at least re-examining your options. But as always, my advice is buy something that you really want. I think that's the best advice I could give anybody right now. So looking to our minimum household income, that of course has also gone back to these sort of early April numbers as far as that payment goes. We're much more towards that $125,000 median minimum household income with no other debts for a single family home, and kind of back towards this this number right around $98,000 as well. And then if we look at our absorption rate, right, we're right in the middle 70s. So our entry-level single-family home, we're at 77%, 73% for our condos. That is what we call just kind of a regular seller's market, not a crazy seller's market, which is what we've really kind of been experiencing in the past. Just where the scales have been tilted so wildly in the direction of the sellers. Now there's still a tilt, but think of it as more of a slight tilt in the market, not kind of a heavy tilt towards the seller. So again, I want to emphasize that, this isn't across all prices and market segments, right? Especially it's not across all levels of desirability. If there is a property that is a hot home, you see it on Redfin there, it will probably get multiple bids in the first week. That's just a reality of our market, is that there are still properties that are these hot properties getting a lot more activity. But it also means if you're smart and you pick the right property that is not getting a lot of activity, you really could put yourself ahead. Total inventory. This is the one that really I am the most proud of if you are a first-time home buyer. Is, even at our peak last year, which was in the middle of August, we were about 1,800 houses. And right now we are at about 1,900 entry-level single-family homes. These are 3-bedroom, 2-bath homes located in LA and Orange counties. That might not seem like a lot, but to be 5% better than our best point last year, heading into the spring, I really think that that's good news for first-time home buyers. You actually do have that ability to choose. You don't have to just take whatever you get an offer accepted on. Our condo market, unfortunately, that is still lower demand. And I think we've talked a lot about it in the past, reasons why that is. One, I think our condo market was artificially sort of depressed due to COVID. People didn't want to be in shared housing arrangements. But secondly, I think we're seeing a real market shift. A lot more buyers aren't going into this with the attitude that an attached property is just something they're buying in the interim. Some of them are saying, no, this is what I actually want on a permanent basis. And that really is a big shift than we've seen in the past. Now, if we look at our 14-day still active percentage, really that tells that story again of kind of two markets, right? If you watch our regular market update, you'll notice the days on market for the properties getting offers and going into contract, that days on market is not going up. And yet this 14-day still active percentage is rising. What does that mean? The most popular properties are still popular, but then there's everything else, which has gotten less competitive. And finally, let's take a look at our overall inventory here. This is really the thing that I think is a better situation for most of our buyers. So if you're looking at our entry-level single-family home, we're at about 5 weeks of inventory. Our highest point last year was just over 4 weeks of supply of homes if you were in that 3-bedroom, 2-bath entry-level single-family category. So really, inventory has never been better for you in recent history if you're looking at entry-level single-family homes. If you're in that condo market, you're at about 5.5 weeks. So we're right about where we were. We're pretty close to where we were last year in terms of that sort of relative inventory, meaning how many weeks of homes do we have based on how fast homes are selling and going into escrow. I know last week was a little bit of a breather, and of course our numbers are skewed a little bit because what tends to happen is people, especially those absorption rates, they tend to be higher in a holiday week because people don't put their homes on the market, but buyers are still out there. And then they tend to be lower than normal the following week because everybody who didn't put their home on the market the week before and has been saving that listing now puts their home back on the market. So do understand there's a little bit of kind of like holiday weekend funkiness in these numbers, but I actually think that those effects aren't huge this year. Memorial Day is not nearly as big of a holiday as, say, Thanksgiving, Christmas, New Year's, and 4th of July, which really tends to be a big holiday weekend. Anyhow, like I said, it's great to be able to deliver some good news to first-time home buyers that, your chances of being able to find something that you love and that's going to work for your needs really have gone up significantly in the last couple of months. If that's one area that's really the improvement in this market, that's where it's at. Now that interest rates have crested a little bit and come down just a little bit, I also think that's really a boon for our first-time home buyers who are out there. If you are a first-time home buyer or someone who should be a first-time home buyer, and I think we all know somebody like that, we would love to lend you our expertise and represent your interests and help you become a homeowner. Absolutely reach out to us if you're in that category. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell. And we will see you again real soon.